Welcome to the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd and Art.
All right, welcome to the Dog Psychology Podcast with Todd and Art, and today's guest is Steve Del Savio. Steve, how's it going, Steve?
What's up, Pat? Good to see you guys. Welcome.
Congratulations on the new baby. How old is your baby now?
It's a good question. I should probably not answer. What's today? Tuesday? 2 weeks old today.
Yeah, if you're asking what day it is, you know it's going to be a small.
1 a.m. 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Nice. Dude, I was so excited when I got the text message from you that you got a baby. It's life-changing, dude. But as you know, your life's about to change.
Yeah, completely life-changing. You guys have said to me, you guys had kids obviously before me, you're like, wait till you finally see your baby for the first time, blah, blah, blah. So many people, my cousins, everyone said it. And it's like you guys said, you're not going to understand it until you actually experience it. And like the first look, I'm like, holy cow. It was unbelievable. I'm going to share. Can I share something to you about that with the baby?
Of course.
Start this off. It's kind of mind-boggling. I haven't shared this with anybody. I shared it with my family, but not in public. So I'll share it here. So it was like a 23-hour labor, long labor, right?
Wow.
And Cassie's pushing for 3.5 hours. So at the end, she we're trying to get the baby out, but the baby's having a hard time getting out, right? So baby was stuck there for a while. Baby ends up coming out. And because he was stuck there for a while, it was like having a little like labored breathing kind of thing. Like he was all right, but they were like, we're like not very happy with his breathing. We want to take him to the NICU unit, right? So the NICU is like, you know what it is, like I don't even know what it's called, but it's like the emergency, whatever, intensive care thing or whatever. So we go up there. So I'm like sitting there. I'm like, all right, do I go with my kid? Do I stay with my wife? Like, Cassie's like, go with the kid. So I go with the kid. They tell me it's basically he had something like within his like the meconium, I guess is like the first poop or something, and because he was stuck there, it got into his lung or something, caused like some like hole where oxygen then seeps into like the body and it can cause oxygen toxicity and all this shit. But they said it basically it's like it'll go away, like it should be fine. So I'm like, all right, I stayed for a while. I go down, we slept for like a couple hours type thing, right? And then I wake up in the morning. I'm also dealing with like I had like a gut infection at this time, so I had to go to. So the next morning I wake up, I go up, see him again. I'm like, all right, he's off like the air stuff and everything. He's doing well. I go to urgent care, get my stuff done, and when I came back, I said, all right, Cass, I'll grab you, Cassie, my wife. I said, we'll go up and see him, right? So I get the wheelchair, we go up there with him, go into the room, and we see like him and there's one other baby, and there's like one nurse. So Cassie goes, can we go into the room? I'm like, yeah, we can go in the room. So we go in, nurse goes, hey, can I help you guys? She's like, I was like, yeah, we're Steven's son. Our son's name is Steven, by the way. And we go,
I thought you named him the kid.
Yeah, we call him the kid.
I went to go see the kid. Oh.
Yeah, that's his first name is the kid, yeah.
Well, in Jersey, that's what I thought they named him.
It's this kid, yeah.
This kid.
So we're in there, right? And she goes, okay, let me grab your nurse, right? Who's like dealing with Steven, right? So the nurse comes in. We're like just looking at him. Nurse comes in. She goes, hey, guys, blah, blah, are you Steven's parents? And we're like, yeah, we're Steven's parents. She goes, yeah, that's so great. She goes, so I'm the nurse who's been looking over Steven. My name is Maddie.
That's awesome. Shit.
So I'm like, so for the people who don't know me on your show and stuff, Maddie is this dog on the shirt. She was the one who I was in a really rough place in my life, got me out of it, like the whole story, named this place the Maddie Ranch after it. So, I mean, dude, it was almost too much to handle at that moment. I was like, I said to Cassie, I was like, I literally turned her in front, and I didn't even say anything to the lady. I go, I don't know if I can handle this shit right now. And Cassie's like, this is insane. So I explained it to the lady, and she's like, wow, she didn't really like totally get it, in my opinion, but like for us, I told that to Caesar. I called Caesar to say I told them. He was like, holy cow, that's like, people don't understand the spiritual world. Like, how do you explain that kind of thing, you know? So it was wild stuff.
That's cool, man. That's an awesome story.
Everything's okay?
Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, he was like, so we saw him, and then we went down to the room. They don't even tell you. We're like in the room, and all of a sudden the door opens. And they're like, we have a surprise. And he like comes wheeling in. And then it's like, good luck. You know what I mean? We're like, all right, is he okay? Like, were we supposed to feed him now? Like, what do we do?
Yeah, you don't get a manual. It's kind of I always go back to that. My wife hit some instinctive button that was kind of impressive beyond words. It just naturally happened. Now, just let the dog behavior side of me as you're talking about that. Our daughter was born C-section. Mm-hmm. So it comes out kind of peaceful.
Yeah.
You just brought out a bassinet, basically.
Right.
I wonder if there is a behavioral imprint to the way you come into this world.
I wonder that too.
This is a really good topic, by the way. And this is not what we originally were going to talk about, but this is something that Ann and I have discussions about, just her and I, because Ann did it naturally, right?
Yeah.
Did she have water birth too? Right? Did she have a long labor?
22 hours
So
for
check this
for
out,
River.
guys. So you guys can tell me because you'll know, but our daughter, she was so peaceful. We were worried because there was so little fuss and everything. We're talking forever.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is, at the early phases in life, how much does that entrance matter?
I think it matters, to be honest. If you wanted me to ask my honest opinion, I don't know, but I think it actually does. I've heard people who have done therapy and especially in experiences like psychedelic stuff where they've had things of like they had memories of their birth of
they go back and
they didn't know, and then they go inquire about it. They asked a parent and they're like, "Yeah, you actually did. It was a really hard time getting you out. We had to and all this stuff." They're like, "Holy, the umbilical cord." It's like, holy cow. So how do you explain that shit too? It's like
being grabbed by forceps.
Yeah. Like for our son, I don't care. Cassie's fine with this, but our son, they had to do the vacuum thing on him. So it's almost like a suction cup on his head because he was stuck to pull him while the nurse, I was like, is this the nurses got her forearm on Cassie's belly, pushing on the other side, the things being pulled and all that stuff. And I'm like, and also I did think about that. Like we didn't really, Cassie got to do the skin to skin right away. I didn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. He goes right to the thing. He's now for first 17 hours of his life, like that whole thing. So obviously nothing I can really do about that experience, but
you can go redo it.
Yeah.
And just put him back.
Yeah.
And just bring him out peacefully.
Yeah. Put him back all day.
Let's pretend it didn't happen.
I know, it's interesting. It's like, and we just did the skin to skin stuff and everything, and just took it from there. But I will say, from understanding dogs, getting back to dog behavior, dog psychology, it's made this thing. You know what it is? It's made it so much easier, in my opinion, to understand what's happening, what should I be doing, and stuff, just from understanding instincts and nature and things. But just
do you remember what you shared with me? Because I was trying to. Yeah. It's funny. I bet we all parent the same way. So, Art, I was trying to explain in a text how we got our daughter to sleep through the night in about a month, about 4 weeks, and it just had to do with our schedule, like the way that we did it. And I kind of explained it like house training.
Yeah.
Right. You're going out a certain number of times, which are the feedings. Now, especially through the night, this gets important. And then you're basically trying to pull one of those feedings out and expand that period of time.
Yep.
And you had said something that was super interesting, and I don't think, obviously would have made as much sense prior to your dog behavior, was when you said, we had to change the pattern of feeding.
Yeah.
That we were missing a signal before, and so he was getting fussy, and then we were feeding fussy, and I don't want to reinforce fussy.
Yeah.
So we had to catch this. Explain to me what you were saying. That was super cool to hear.
So it was like, so I was noticing, what's interesting about this is what I will say is having a baby. I never had a baby. So you become a student again. You know what I mean? It's like the first, it's like Art, when we went to TCW, it's like we're back being a student. When me and Art went to TCW, we knew dogs already, but not that level. But I'm saying even in the beginning, watching Dog Whisperer for the first time, let's put it that way. It's like, holy cow, let me study this. It's the same type of thing. I'm listening to nurses. I'm like, asking all the questions. So becoming, in my opinion, to become a leader in what we do, you have to be a good student also. Because we have to be able to understand what does the person in front of us need to hear? What do they need to learn? So it's the whole studying thing. So I'm watching how they're doing it. And they're talking about the same thing they talk about in puppyhood. Take them out to the bathroom, blah, 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 da, da, da. It's like, okay, but what about the timing of it and the energy of the kid or the dog during that time, right? So the kid, I'm noticing he's fussy, and Cassie was somewhat waiting to him to cry, and then he'd be like, and then right on the boob. And it's like, for my eyes, my instinct just said, I don't think we should be timing it like this. I think what we should do is you should try to settle him as best as you can, and then when he's more relaxed, then put him on the boob so he can eat. You know what I mean? And then
way too powerful. Can I have a different take on this? Yeah. Because I actually did do it differently. And I think this is where we not can disagree, but just have a different take on it, because I actually did think about these things as well. Yeah. And as you know, babies are a lot like puppies in a way. They don't reason or logic in the sense of we would, right? And so for me, and this is something that Ann and I had really deep discussions, because I thought about that as well, but I actually had a different take, because, a baby's usually going to fuss because they're either hungry or tired.
Or that's a dirty diaper, right? Yeah.
Or a dirty diaper, right. And so, there's a big sleep training. A lot of people do sleep training, which is, they put a baby in a room, let it cry it out and things like that.
That's what my parents did to me, by the way. I found that.
Me too. Me too, by the way.
Day one.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of, and again, I'm not saying that's wrong or right. We just went a different route, right? And so for us, like we looked at it as like, if our baby's crying, right? There's usually it's this or that, or they're uncomfortable, right? And they don't have the way to process it of processing like we can process emotions, right? Or a difficult time, right? They don't know. What they really want is some comfort, right? And so if you can give them comfort so they don't feel alone in this world, right?
I agree.
And so it's not that I want them to cry it out, or I want them to reinforce that, because it's not that. It's usually, with babies, not that it's easy, but it's usually because they're hungry, dirty diaper, or they just need some comfort, right? And so it's not, me personally, it's not that we're reinforcing a, good or bad. It's just there's an instinctual need that they have, right? And so we talk about hormones that are being released at that moment.
Let me be more clear about what I was doing. So like I think like so to understand, it wasn't like we let him just cry, right? And just like go cry and like deal with it, and then once he stops crying, now you can eat. It wasn't that. So he's crying in the thing, wherever he's crying, it's like, let's comfort him first.
Right.
The comfort first. We're here.
100%.
We're here, right? We're here for you. Everything's fine. I know you're understand you can't reason it, but my thing is like he still will be conditioned, in my opinion, that this behavior of crying equals I immediately go on the boob. So to me, and maybe I'm wrong about that. You know what I'm saying?
No, this is what I was going to say is, Art, you were saying something at the beginning about the way that you perceived what they processed. Regardless of where the processing has come from, the one thing they have figured out is like moment one, their brain is still this association supercomputer.
Right.
So like right away, they're even in the way that they cry, if you record it, they're actually mimicking certain voice, like vocal. So their brains are immediately going, okay, what are my needs? Right. And
the cries are different, by the way. The cries are different.
Right? So what's a way that I can get the need? So as a parent, I think this is where in our world, everything gets confused because there's nothing is exactly as we explain it, because everything is nuanced with behavior.
Right.
But certain things, and I believe, are very mechanical in behavior. Right. Mm-hmm. So once that connection is made, the connection is made. So like, I think what you were saying, Steve, was really kind of spot on, because once you're at that point, and I mean, I joke, but it's like you're talking. I mean, imagine, Art. I know you pictured it too. You're like now, so, I'm crying and straight to the boob, and in my mind, I'm like, that's a pretty strong reinforcement.
Right.
I mean, like literally,
that's the only thing the kid really wants. It's the only thing he wants out of everything. So it's like
at that moment, that's life.
He probably gets that from you.
Yeah, no, I know. Rather just like me back in the day.
That's why in my mind, I'm like laughing about it. But I think you can honor both, right?
Yeah.
You have to honor both. You have to bring the emotional element to it. You can't just be cold and associative. Right. But if you're just emotional and you disregard the associative, then you're still building these behaviors that you may not.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also like what Art's saying is super important. And there's a famous, I don't know if he's a therapist or what he is. Have you ever heard of the guy Gabor Maté?
He's amazing. Yeah, it's freaking amazing.
Fantastic. And he talks about this stuff of like, go cry it out. Let the kid cry it out. It's like that. What does it teach that kid? I have an emotional need, and it's like, we don't give a shit that you have it kind of thing. That can easily teach a child that thing. So to me, it's like, can you comfort? But also, we're not going to come like just like escape you from this feeling you're having, so you don't have to ever go through it either. So you give them the comfort. Anyway, going back to the feeding, I'm like, I want to be able, this kid has to be comfort. We're here for you. We understand your need. Just, we're not going to time it when you're like hysteria. Like, the cry where they're almost like not even breathing shit. It's like,
yeah. And
then all of a sudden, if you put them on, to me, like my brain, like my behavior brain is like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, maybe we could do this. And to Cassie, she knows dogs too. She was like, that makes a lot of sense to me to do it that way. And again, it's like, can we get him totally calm to do it always? No. But if we can at least reduce the chaos and do it. And it's actually, we've noticed it too. Now his feeding, he's not as hysterical during the feedings. The diaper thing was another thing too. The diapers was like fucking like, we were like the kid was like, world's ending because you're changing my diaper type thing. And instead I said, Cassie was trying to do it a little faster. Let's just get it done kind of thing. And I'm like, let's take our time with this thing. Imagine this is like Marty. We just got him as a puppy and he's learning something. How can we like help him through this thing? That's to me like the patience and being there for the kid.
It's also recognizing the patterns. Last episode we talked about patterns, right? There's a pattern that we recognize, slowing everything down for the baby and for the dog. I will say that having a baby has made me way better with dogs, but also having dogs has helped me with raising my children.
So I remember this clearly, like as a kid and I would bring this into parenting. So I had a fear of thunderstorms growing up here in Florida. I remember it specifically. And so from the time I can remember, our patio sits right here. when a thunderstorm would come through, I would take our daughter out as a tiny baby, and I would basically kind of celebrate thunderstorms. A combination of be really, really relaxed about it, and hey, like happy-go-lucky, calm surrender, right? So I early on prevented, like we always talk about with puppies, I prevented certain issues that I could understand enough to prevent. You know, I mean, as parents, it's what you do. And then the other thing is I believed, and it's interesting, it stayed with me to this day. Like I can sit next to a crying baby on a plane unbothered, because when my daughter would be fussy, I would try to infect her with calmness as opposed to try to remove her like fussiness. I would like hold her here and I would be like, how calm can I get?
Right.
And I want to see if I can infect her with calmness.
And you can.
You can. And I mean, that's the same thing. I would have never taken that approach, you know, pre-dog. I fucked up my first dog so that I didn't fuck up my kid.
Yeah.
You know, so I went through the process. It would have been totally different.
You know, it's funny you said about the thunderstorms. I did that with all 3 of my dogs in puppyhood. Like I was like, I know Nico was like, Nico for some reason, my shepherd was very much like, I can deal with a lot of shit. So he was pretty good with it. But Marty, you guys know Marty, because Marty had a TCW as a puppy. He was like, he was sound sensitive. So when he came to the first thunderstorm, I saw him like a little bit. So I was like, all right, immediately from there, I just got Nico and started playing with Nico immediately. Ball play in the house, party, wrestling, and it just switched Marty to it. So now from this point forward, because I did that in the beginning, all 3 of my guys, if it's a thunderstorm, because we don't have them in the summer here, obviously. Thunderstorm happens, the guys get up party and start coming over to me, wagging the tails, like, so it's time to play. That's the association. You know what I mean? And people are fast. They're not scared of thunder. No, great to correct association like you did with your daughter.
We need to do a whole episode on thunder, like the whole phobias behind it, because living down here in Florida, you in Texas, you know, it's something we see a lot. And I'd love to know your guys' opinions on the pattern you see behind it. Because I see what I see as a specific pattern where it's interesting in your dog, Steve, that it's Marty that has an issue. I've always found dogs that lean more into dominance and like strong-minded dogs have the hardest time dealing with.
I was about to say the same thing.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering, if you guys see that same pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more confident dogs you just are the ones that are scared of the thunder.
Yeah. I wonder if it's that element of always feeling like they need to be regulating, and now I don't know what I can be doing with this. And
right.
I had a super forward German Shepherd. One time he jumped out a fucking window and back in during a storm while we were gone.
Holy cow.
Yeah. How's that? I came home to a soaking wet dog inside and I went, oh, this isn't going to be good.
Right.
And I walk and see that it was.
Well, think about the thunder thing too. Imagine like back in the day, prior to dogs being wolves, like what are they going to do? Like the parents are just going to show them what to do. They're out in nature. This is how we deal with it. This is how we do it.
You probably went in trying to go
in your den, go somewhere. Yeah. We weather the storm. Nothing bad is happening here. We just have to ride this out and everything's going to be fine, you know?
But that's the whole parent dog puppy thing, is that people, if you pull back far enough back, you'll see that we're designed to behavior model and then kind of sort things out. And in our world, so this is perfect segue. I was at for Easter, I had she was 13-month-old niece. And it is amazing that you would think that this child had cured world diseases. You know, it's like the child's the center of 10 adults the entire time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but what I can tell you when you pull far enough back is it's not natural. You know what I'm saying? In the developmental 100%. Brain, you know, in nature,
that's about the parents.
Well, it's that in our society, we celebrate things that nature doesn't have a celebration about, right?
Right.
And you know, if you watch I get a chance to watch a lot of animals, and these sandhill cranes, they're these birds that are about 3 feet tall, and they raise their babies on the ground, and they'll fuck you up, man. I have a video just the other day. I started to see if I could tape them, and it was so cool. One parent brought the babies in, and the other parent moved in front like a bouncer and started to move towards me like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
And when you watch them, what's cool is the babies initially are given all the food from the parents. So all their food is handed down. And you can watch this transition where it's given, and then it's put on the ground. And then they got to go get it.
Yeah.
And then it's given, and then it's like dropped over here. And then you'll see they don't give it. And then the baby starts to mimic what they saw, the way the parent would kind of poke in the ground.
Right.
And what I see in our teachings with dog training with parents is that there's never the removal of the guidance, right? So there's never that demonstration of the lesson and then the removal of the demonstration to see if the lesson was learned.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying? Like that whole hovering parent, they call it the devouring mother, the hovering parent.
The helicopter mom.
Yeah, you're doing everything. Yeah. So by never pulling back the lesson, That's
the opportunity to learn.
That's what people do with dogs too, by the way.
Correct.
Constantly. Even a lot of dog trainers that are like, sit, come, heel, down. And as soon as that's removed, the dog's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yep.
What do I do? You know, they get
the super trained dog. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, so when you're not getting like strict obedience commands, dogs, where's in the kennel over there squealing its face off? How do I get out of here? I don't know what to do if I'm not doing this work at this time. You know what I mean?
Over-parenting, over-directing, over-guiding.
I said this recently to a client. I said, like, you know what people think, like, when they say of a trained dog, right? Like, a lot of people don't really think, in my opinion, of, like, the sit-down heel, like, competition dog. They think of the dog who's a calm dog, who's a calm follower dog. Because
the funny thing is they don't know it. They don't know that's
like,
what they want.
You're watching someone in New York City. They're walking on the street with the dog. Let's just say even off leash or calm leash. Just calmly follows the person. They sit on the bench. The dog calmly just sits there. They have no commands, no nothing. People... holy shit, how did you train that dog? He's amazing. And I said to them, you know, I've never had in my experience in 15 years doing this, someone say, I have a real problem with my dog. He's way too calm. You know what I mean? Like, never happens, ever. So
how about this, guys, since we're talking about the kids?
Yeah.
I get a lot of questions. I know you guys do too. And I mean, we're all at different phases with this. How do you do the proper introduction, right? So actually, you know, we want to... I have a couple I just worked with. They're going to have a baby in July. And, you know, so there's these pre-baby things you can do. So let's kind of go through this. What are some of your pre-baby routines you would teach clients? How would you look at an introduction, like with a dog and a baby? What do you think is the best way to do an introduction? And then from there, how can you help interpret if a dog and kids are safe together? Mm-hmm. Because here's the worst line, and I know you guys know it too, is, you know, everything's okay. He just kind of leaves them alone. And we're like, oh shit. So now we know we have avoidance. Yeah. And as soon as the kid starts to move, we know we're going to get a bite. And you know it. It's 100% certain this kid's going to get nipped when there is, you know, they get to eat and they start to get it where the dog can't avoid. So there's a lot of predictable factors. And unfortunately, and this is the other thing I think we can talk about, is dogs can do some terrible things to babies and children. You read about it every year and
can kill them.
Yeah.
Every year.
Let's just call it out. Right?
Yeah.
And it happens in car seats. And we know what happens is they come in, there was never acceptance. The dog was in a controlling fight state from the beginning about everything. It never accepted. And this, they bring it in the introduction, the dog's putting its feet on the car seat. And then for whatever reason, they set the baby seat down on the ground. And worst imaginable thing.
Humans are coming with, look at your new brother, bringing all the excitement to it as well.
When I read those articles, I almost physically feel like that situation, and some of them are so traumatic. It's mind-blowing to think that a mother or a father or a parent had to go through that.
Wild.
I would do anything I could to be able to get enough information out there to prevent that from happening and to put you. As much as everybody loves dogs, we have to put our kids.
That's the goal of all of us with our social media and what we're doing and stuff. It's like, how can we put out information for free for people so they never have to experience something like that? That's brutal. I mean, I did a post on that. There was something in Texas. I don't know what, I mean, they're all over the place. These things happen, but there was one in Texas. It was like 2 years ago or something. And I did the post. The two dogs killed both children. Right. And it's like, I really debated posting it and stuff because I'm not trying to like put those people or like insult them in any way. I was just like, we have to create awareness about this shit because like we keep like, we can't talk about it because of the people. It's like, so what? We're just going to allow children to keep getting killed by dogs and stuff? We can't let this happen. I kind of just said this is what likely happened in the scenario. I'm not saying this is what happened, but this is what likely, and it was just what you said, Todd. It was like likely a dog in a leader position, unstable, ordered the people around, aroused dog, underfulfilled, the whole thing, no rules, boundaries, limitations, pet at the wrong time, whole deal. And they come in, look at your new brother. And the dog now is into decision-making mode of, I don't accept this member of the family. You know what I mean? And we say the dogs are killers and this and that. It's like, well, the humans created them to be that thing, and you put them in that position to be the decision maker. That's what animals do in that position, especially a dog. They're going to make decisions of whether or not we are accepting this or not.
But here's where we really have to be clear about this. This is the wrong word, but it's predictable in a sense that this is technically never a surprise.
Right.
If you have a little bit of knowledge of the situation
100%.
or questions are asked. I'm never surprised when I see or get a little more information from a scenario.
Me neither.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's like one too. Like the three of us, if we were able to look at, let's just say, like 10 families with their behavior, with their animal, with their dog, prior to the baby being born, you just observe them, assess them. I would say that we would probably be in like the 90th percentile of predicting who's going to have issues and who won't.
Yeah, I agree.
There's some weird ones. It's like, wow, I'm actually surprised that the dog's doing well with that kid. You know what I mean? Agreed. However, for the most part, like you're saying, it's super predictable what it's going to be.
So so Steve, like, I mean, since you just had Steven here recently, like, what's the process that you and Cassie went through?
So I'll give you first. Trying to think of what the best way to do. Should I do the pre-baby like what we did? Then
of course, yeah, because it starts there. People like already are trying to like intervene when there's a lot of preventive stuff that can happen before.
Yeah, my dog has issues with the baby now. It's like, where were you 9 months ago? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for us, like, again, there's two things. So for myself and for my clients, it's going to be a little different in my opinion, because and I know you guys, we practice dog psychology like to the fullest with our animals, right? So we practice pack leadership. So to my dogs, like whether I'm bringing in a steak, a ball, like new guests, whatever, if me and the leader position says to the dog, so this is something that I ask you to be calm and respectful about, that's what they do, right? So to me, my pre-baby routine, I did some baby sound stuff and things like that, and I'll get into what I would suggest clients. But it wasn't that much preparation I had to do because I was doing overall preparation of raising the puppies the correct way, leading their life, fulfilling their needs every day. So to them, they're like, we see you as our leader, so just tell us what you want to do with whatever the hell you bring in this place, right? For my clients, it's one where I know they're not going to be practicing the same level of leadership we do, and I'll have the same understanding of dogs and behavior we do. So for my clients, I'm telling them, all right, so first we have to start with the basics, in my opinion. If they're not leading their dog, we have to start leading the freaking dog. Like, let's start leading the dog, setting rules, boundaries, limitations, do normal stuff you would do with a dog for someone the dog's got issues, right? Then from there, once we're doing that stuff, to me, it's, all right, so we have to be able to teach the dog that through the nose, the eyes, the ears, what do I do with all that? With that sense, with the sight of it, and the sound of this thing, right? So to me, it's like scent, we can't do anything until the baby's born, right? But so we can definitely do eyes and ears.
Hey, Steve, let's hold on just a second. So when we were talking about the power of the simplicity of association in the brain, so that's what we're talking about. So for the people listening that are trying to understand what we mean by the nose, eyes, ears. So basically, each of their sense is going to connect to the baby's smells. You know, you guys can figure out what that is, the sights. And by sights with babies, it's usually their gear. Right, it's the gear, and then when then you see the hands and stuff, but it's the gear. So all the swings and all the different shit,
right?
And then the sounds, right? So the sounds of the gear. You know, I always would do treadmills with babies crying.
Yes,
right. So is that what you're saying? You know,
correct.
Right?
Yeah. So nose, I couldn't really do it until the baby's born, and we'll discuss how we do that. That's really the introduction to me is through that. So we'll get to that. But so then, what can I do for eyes? It's like you said, put out the cribs, the all the toy, anything that this baby's going to be doing. You do that. I would also suggest to people is potentially get a doll or a baby, because that's also a visual of being held, holding, walking around, asking for distance, be calm with that stuff. So that's also visual.
So that's a big one, is the association of distance to these things.
Correct.
Right. So you don't want the association of avoidance. Too many people correct that phase and they send the dog too far away.
Right.
That's the nervous parent's not sure what to do. And the dog's coming in and being respectful. And then the human sends it away. And the dog's like, okay, so you don't want me to get near this thing.
That's a good point.
Yes. It's an early condition avoidance unintentionally.
Correct. That's a good point. Yeah. So how you're actually doing that is critical. Right. It's like you're right. Like there's nervous, neurotic, anxious people. Get away. And the dog, so what's up with this baby? Is there some issue with this thing? All right. I'm going to observe that thing. And what do I need to do about it? You know what I mean? Versus like what I did is like, back up, guys. And they're like, all right. So he doesn't want us near the baby. We understand. So he's asking me to be calm. So it's totally true that you're calm, confident to address the dog, right? Then for sounds, that's what I did. Same thing. It's like play babies, the sounds. I saw how my dogs reacted. My guys are pretty good. Marty was a little bit like, what is this thing? So I did treadmill with him, put him on treadmill. And then I put baby sounds, also associated play a little bit. Not crazy play because of the excitement, but just like everything's great, dude. We're fine with the sounds, right?
Yep.
So that was the association to the eyes and ears. And then I had to wait till the baby's born to obviously get the scent. So the scent, I did one of his swaddles that he had, like the blanket that he wears. Yeah. And I got a dirty diaper. They thought I was psycho, by the way, at the hospital. Like he had a diaper. I'm like, oh, let me get that thing. You have Ziploc bags? They're like, what are you trying to do? Save his first diaper? I'm like, yeah, well, it's for my like, what?
Nostalgia. Yeah, right.
That's wild too. That's actually something I just thought about. Like how these nurses and stuff who are with these people from the beginning, they don't even have any process of like the dog thing. Imagine all these nurses in hospitals would say like, do you guys have a dog? We would like, you could like teach them from the beginning because a lot of people wouldn't even know. Anyway, that's another thing. But so then I got the thing. I came home. We came home with. I didn't come home like prior to or anything. We came home with the baby. So Cassie waited in the car with the baby. I came in to the house. My dogs were out. I had the Ziploc bag. So first I did the swaddle. I opened up the swaddle. They start coming over towards me, and I asked them. I just so that to me that with that shush thing that we do is I'm asking you to stop what you're doing and relax. That's it, right? So they stop what they're doing and relax.
Stop moving forward anymore.
Correct.
That's as close as I want you to get.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a boundary of how close you can come. So they stopped at a boundary that I felt good, a few feet away, and you see them with the ears back, smelling like that, right? So I know they're picking up the scent, and the state of mind was great. So I waited, and then once they got all that scent, I asked them to go all the way into relaxation, like lay all the way down and chill, right? Then I did the same thing with the other one, same exact thing with the diaper smell, same thing. And immediately after that, I went out and got the baby in the car seat. I walked in and had the baby there, and they were like, what's this? Same thing, moved back, and came inside, put the baby down. Baby starts thinking, so they're smelling, okay, I understand the smell of this thing, I stay away from it. Then the baby starts crying, so the trigger, Marty, what do I do? And like, is this the thing? Go back and lay down. Oh yeah, thank you for the reminder, we've already done this before, kind of thing. The vision they saw, they knew the vision. We did stuff with the car seat, walking around, holding the baby, so they knew all that stuff. So from that point forward, it was just, all right, this is adjustment to a dog, obviously, which is a huge adjustment, a new pack member to the family. So you have to give them time and be patient with them, right, to be able to understand what the hell is going on. We just asked for distance the whole time. Oh, one other huge point in this I have to make is I had my team, because like obviously we have the business here and everything. So I had Dave, my trainer, for 2 straight days before we came home, drain my dogs. Like, go bake them, exercise, go put them in the park with the other guys, like do all that stuff. So when I came home, they were like fulfilled, and we're already in a resting recovery state. So like, if you want us to go lay down with this new association thing, no problem, we'll do it. You know, so that really helped the thing too. That's a big part that I think a lot of people don't think about is like draining the dog's energy prior to this whole event that happens when you actually do the intro.
Well, I don't think people really understand what the true goal is.
Right.
And that's why if you go back to the simplicity of, look, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to get our dog's brain, and people immediately move it to emotion, which is why they go to the words jealousy and so forth. We're not. Right. It's not that. There's like a mechanical process in the brain based on the relationship you previously had.
Right.
Previously is a key word, by the way.
If your previous relationship included the ability to calm a dog down and back a dog up, right? If you can do those two things, then we're just going to say, hey, this thing that smells like shit and makes sound, like this thing, we want you to do the same thing. If I was carrying a ham, I want the same thing. Right? So this is where people lose like the simplicity. And that's why we, at the very beginning, we're teaching the brain. We're not building the relationship. We're teaching the brain how to connect the relationship to calmness.
Yes.
And the appropriate distance until we invite you in. And with repetitions of this, what we're actually asking for is the highest level of respect, which is the highest form of love.
Correct.
The trust, right? And so people reverse this and like, we want to make them love them.
Yeah.
And that excitement and emotion confuses the dog.
That's right.
And then the dog's like, dude, this thing really makes you emotional. Like you're in a different state. I've never seen this. You're nervous. This thing makes sound and you start to get frustrated. I can change that. I can do this. I can get rid of it. Right. And then that's seen as jealousy. And the dog's just in this animal state of, look, I need to solve a problem that you guys just brought in.
Right.
And so that's the if we could just make a simple brochure to explain what we're doing.
Right. We have to.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I think a lot of times people can practice, you know, Steve had talked about like the baby wasn't here, so we didn't have a lot of no's, but you can practice. And, you know, much of what you talked about, Todd, about bringing out a piece of ham, just bringing out food. If they understand how to respect you when you have food, because I tell people, if you can't do it with the food, there's no way you're going to be able to do it with the baby.
Nope.
So practice with the food before the baby gets here. Or whatever it is, like the dog has to understand to give you some distance, some space. Steve, you talked about this, like from their beginning, giving us space, so they've already practiced it. They already know what it is. It's not this new concept to them. Because again, if you try to introduce it when the baby's already there, good luck.
Yeah, good job.
You know, ask somebody to bring in anything. Bring in a guinea pig. It doesn't matter what it is. Your dog's curiosity is stronger than your ability to control their curiosity and push forward, dude.
Yeah. Don't go further than that. Right. It's any scent that triggers a dog to I'm curious and I want to move forward. Right. Like whether that's the scent of the baby, the guinea pig, the filet mignon, whatever. Can you keep that dog at a distance when he wants to say, I'm coming towards that thing? Do you have the ability to say him, not right now, go back and calm down? Do you have the ability to do that? And if they don't, in my opinion, you're unprepared to have a baby. That's it.
So I have a video of when I introduced my daughter to the dogs, and
I took one too, by the way.
It was 14 years ago, right? And the one thing I see is a mistake that was made with one of the dogs. Mm-hmm. So of the dogs that are in this video, there's 4. And like one keeps going and drinking water and having, and like I can see it, and comes back and his like lip sticks out. And I didn't really follow through enough. And with that dog, and that was the dog that at the beginning I had the concerns about, because he had this specific way he would behave if he was trying to like move away, and a dog would keep putting pressure on him. He had a very specific behavior, and I mean, if I heard this certain sound, there was always going to be a hole somewhere in some dog's face.
Yeah.
He was a tagger. He just pop.
Yep.
And I didn't calm him down enough. So the imprints you were talking about when you first came home of calm, those first 2 or 3 days are vital.
They're critical.
You can't downplay those first few days of how you're introducing your dog and your baby together, because everything is getting intertwined. How you feel about the baby, the stress, the lack of sleep. Now you're frustrated if the dog, all these things are going like this, like a magnet. They're going, they're starting to stick together. And the awareness, I tell you, one of the things that my daughter brought to me is I was probably more aware after she was born of my energy than any other time. Because I'd be like, I wonder if I can correct this dog and her just stay peaceful on my chest. Right? Can I go stop this dog right here and this just stays super peaceful? And it's really like this channel of accountability.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The first 3 days, I asked those guys for the highest level of calmness and the furthest boundary from the baby, the bassinet, whatever, from the beginning. Because to me, we can always bring it in closer, right? Like, and we will over time, and they have to learn, how do I get closer, right? So how you get closer is you stay in that state, and you're allowed to come closer and be a little bit more curious. Where people do it wrong is they go right to an excitement right away. So then they're spending the next days, how do I get this thing away?
Yeah.
It's already done. The imprint's been done. We're talking about imprint, like you were saying, the associations. The imprint is, what is the first smell, sound, the sight of this thing? What do I do with it? That's my imprint of it, right? So it's like, people are doing that, in my opinion, completely wrong. It's your new brother. Okay, so you want me to move forward and get excited. Got it. And then the dog does it over time, and then it doesn't like the way it moves, nips the baby. My dog's aggressive with babies. There's something wrong with them. Yeah, you told them to be. You just don't realize it. You're not aware of it. In my opinion, this is the point of this podcast, the social media we do, is to create awareness for people so they're not in these freaking positions ever again. And the problem is, we have a lot of people in the dog world who are saying that's bullshit.
But I also want to add something, because the imprint is also really important, like we've been talking about. However, things are going to be changing. That baby's going to be, there's always going to be imprints to be had.
Correct.
to read over and over.
Like
so
right?
It's like, they're fine now.
Right.
Which, you guys are both
now the baby's moving a little bit. Oh, wait, what's this whole thing? Now the baby's like sitting up. What do we do with that? So it goes back to the beginning. Can you do that with food? Can you do that with new things? With the squirrel that goes across the street, with the filet mignon? Can you do it with those things? Because if you can't, good freaking luck with the baby. It's as like cutthroat as that sounds, but it's honest and the truth. And people need to hear this shit, because there's a lot of the dog world who's telling people, it's fine. No, don't worry about all that stuff. All that dog, it's all bullshit. Just create a good positive association about it. Okay, and what does that mean to you?
You know what? I would be curious.
Frame that positive association. Is that excitement? Like, what are you saying?
I wonder if the new world of trainers coming out, we talked about this fear-free method. I wonder if you call them and tell them that you're preparing for a baby, what advice would be given. I wonder if they suggest medicine prior to. I wonder if they do. If anybody out there knows, I would be dying to know if they start medicating the dog prior to a baby coming home, because that's their go-to move for calming. Art, how many dogs do you have? When I know, right? So that's
to me even more dangerous, by the way, because now you're creating that
I don't
glazed
go
overlook.
It's a question, because I don't know. I'm just curious about it.
No, if I was to assume or to get,
how many dogs do I have?
No, when your River was born first, right?
Yeah.
How many dogs did you have when River was born?
6.
So what did you, the same thing Steve did, or did you go through the same stages?
But I think also is like knowing your dog, right? Like understanding like who's a sensitive one, knowing your dog. And so like when we go to people's houses and we kind of make an assessment, you can already tell like the sensitive ones are going to be probably the most challenging ones. There's some that are happy-go-lucky. They could care less about anything, but I also don't want to create a forward mind with the dog. But, since we did home birth, for both kids. So River was born in a birthing center in a home. But Canyon, our youngest, was born in the house when our dogs were there. And so, the intro was kind of different because I actually had come back from a walk and was texting me, "Hey, I'm going into labor." His Canyon's was only 20 minutes. So I literally put the dogs in the backyard. I didn't even take the leashes off. I just left them in the backyard, came back in, and she's already giving birth. But when we brought River home, we brought him home in the evening. And we just went straight to our bedroom, put him in there, and we actually didn't do any intros for the first week.
Yeah, I did the same. My wife had to go through surgery. My intro took a little while.
Yeah.
Let's do the other one. Sounds fascinating though. I bet with Canyon that the dogs, that's a different, they knew.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That if they were a part of it, I wonder, did it bring them up? Did it make it easier? Was it real natural for them?
Well, here's the thing. Because they were in the backyard and, we were, and I went in our bedroom, even though it was 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes of the loudest screams I've ever heard. Right? It's super painful. I thought if people were going to be walking my house, like they probably thought I was murdering my wife. That's how awful it was.
It's actually kind of disturbing that nobody actually called the cops. If it was,
no, I know. Trust me.
Right?
Without that was happening. But I think with Canyon, he that intro was different because they had already experienced. We actually brought, like, as soon as he was born, we brought the dogs in. Like, we just brought them in, and they just hanging around the bed. We made it part of the process. But it was very different with River. Like we were in our bedroom for a while, and the dogs would come to the door and investigate, but also lay at the door, so they're able to smell under the door, but not create. It's basically creating a boundary.
Yeah.
And so that really helped out, even with as he started growing up. Like if he was laying down on a mat, whatever, they would respect that. And it's also really challenging for a lot of dogs because if you get a dog that loves toys, a lot of the dog toys and baby toys look very similar. They squeak, and so being able to identify this is your toy and this is, matter of fact, we just kind of take up all the toys, even before. Yeah. So they're used to not having a toy and things like that.
That's really interesting too. How many people have all these squeaky toys, have 49,000 toys all over the floor and shit. Like, if you ask me how many toys you have on the floor right now, I think it's 0.0 toys on the floor right now. You know what I mean? Because why? I make time for play and we associate it with outdoors. Like we play ball, we go on bike ride, all that shit, tugs and things, and then indoors is let's rest and kind of hang out. I understand it's not feasible for all people.
But check it out. That's back to what the simple association of being indoors. The nose, eyes, ears of being indoors needs to be associated to calmness. So we always automatically are going back to the same dude, as you parent and go through life with them, you'll see where you have the ability to control certain imprints like that, and you will. And then you'll recognize where you have to go, well, let's just this is going to happen, right? And that's where you'll see it's the balancing act of teaching them how to control their own imprints, Steve. Yeah. I'm sitting with my daughter now at 14 as she's into theater and art, and she's understanding how anxiety works and how to embrace certain things and
how to regulate emotions. Right.
Yeah. And so being able to teach them how imprints work, because all of our behavior is based around these simple imprints in life, right? The fear,
human, elephant, whatever. Yeah.
Your son was only born with 2 technical fears, which is the fear of falling and the fear of loud sound. So everything else is layered in and learned from who? From us. Right. Right. So it's the way that we layer these imprints, and everything continues through life. And I think, where we could take this now is now we're past introductions, right? And I think now most people, if they limped through the introduction, they have about 8 to 12 months of freedom before the real problems set in, if there's going to be problems, right?
Yep.
What is it that you guys think is the biggest red flag? I did a post on this. It actually didn't get very much traction, but I talked about one of the things that's the most easily missed signal when you have a baby is avoidance, because it's seen as convenience.
My notes right here. Avoidance, make point, avoidance, not good.
Well, then I think we're all kind of literally on the same page right there.
Yeah,
brother.
so that's the biggest one. People will say, yeah, my dog's doing really well with the baby. He kind of just ignores them and just walks away. I'm like, all right, so can you call me? Can I come over there today, by the way? You know, and before some bad shit happens? Because, yeah, they can deal with that for the beginning when the baby's not moving, you know? But then it becomes situations where the human has the idea that the dog being avoidant is good. So the dog is now good with the baby in their mind. Now the baby's crawling, moving towards, and it's like, oh, it's just your brother coming.
One of you guys explain what it looks like, right? So right now we're talking about it, and I know all three of us are clearly picturing it, but in my mind, like I can see things that are that the owners are going to so easily miss. So what does it look like when a dog is avoidant of the baby?
By the way, that's a really good, I think we should talk about, because if you think about it, when we talk about trust and respect, right? People may think, oh, he's trusting the baby. That's why he's giving distance. But it's actually he's giving right. Doesn't trust the baby.
Right.
It's the opposite, right? And so
for different reasons,
it's the eye contact, the movement of back and forth, uncertainty, not sure. For me, like I want the dog to be more relaxed around the baby in the close proximity, but not on top, not forward, not avoidant, just relaxed.
Ears back, mouth open. Is a dog whale eyeing, staring, and then looking away slowly? Is a dog like casually, like in a very weird, almost like creepy walk, like stand up and just walk away to another room type thing?
And you'll notice that the dog is going to stay in the senses. So in their senses, it's going to be more eyes, ears. Right. There's not as much. There's not as much. They're not signaling the curiosity of what is that sound or what is that smell. So in reverse of that, whatever that sound and smell may be, they may be sitting there like this. I encourage people to see like what's your dog's baseline when everything's quiet and peaceful and the baby's there, and then all of a sudden, the baby fusses. Do you see? Just to your point, there's
right.
Do they?
What's he doing?
Curious about it?
Yeah. What's he doing? Yeah.
You can figure out what your dog's imprint already is if you are able to watch those things. So you'll see that your baby makes a sound and the dog moves closer, or the dog moves away, or the dog stays neutral. Now, if it moved closer, did it move closer all like, I got to do something about that? Or did it move closer? I think something needs to be done, right? Even when my daughter was a baby and I think we had 5 dogs and we had a shepherd. And I told her, I said, if for whatever reason you're separated for the baby for a moment and one of the dogs comes into you, go to the baby. And it happened. Our daughter was in a swing and my wife was in a different room and she fell out. And the dog came in and started poking at her and barking at her to come in. And so they're always trying to figure this situation out. And if you put them in a waiting mode, as you were saying, they become a helper. But if they don't get direction, they may become a helper in the wrong way, which is why I always say you have a parenting dog. Yeah. And it almost looks like they're great with the kid.
You had Lassie, Todd. Just admit it. You had Lassie for a dog.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it was kind of like that.
McKenna fell off the swing.
That was after he told the fire department to come and fix the fire.
Yeah.
But I mean, that shit's real. It happens a lot. But that's the thing, is the dog is trying to sort this thing out. And the one that moves forward too much is the one that ends up biting the kid, like as a parenting style, not as a
Those are a lot of times. Don't you think those, in your experience, don't you think those are a lot of times back in the pack sensitive dogs who do that too?
Yeah.
I think, I think it comes from different motivations. I think maybe sometimes you'll get a dog that's like Blue has this maternal nature. And I could see in the hands of somebody not regulating her.
It's a female or no?
Yeah, female. And I could see her like taking that parenting role. And for those that are listening, what I mean by the parenting role is you have dogs that the red flag of avoidance means that you have a dog that's going to almost 100% bite your kid as soon as the avoidance doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as I can't get away. But
correct.
A lot of the parenting nips is, and this, I learned this super early.
Can you explain that? Like why? How does it avoidance go to that? Like with fight, flight, avoidance, right?
Well, so the conversation of avoidance is I'm saying I don't want you getting closer. So they're trying to keep a certain amount of distance between themselves and whatever it is that's making them feel like that. So the ability to move away.
Right. Fight, flight, avoid, surrender. They're using the avoidance tactic at first.
Correct.
So then when that can't work.
Either if the option to run away was there, they would have done it, but it's not. So then they nip to create that space they asked for at the beginning.
And then that dog's an aggressive dog, by the way.
No, and that dog gave signals galore, messages, and then you have these dogs. And I saw this when I first moved to Florida. I went to an appointment and I walked in. I wasn't a parent. I was a dog trainer, and I remember at the very beginning, I was uncomfortable giving kid advice because I didn't have a kid. I knew the psychology of the dog, but I didn't have a kid. So you're kind of guessing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, so I walk into this house, and there was these two super passive parents. Like they had given up. And this kid, I forget, he was maybe 5, 6 years old, was a fucking psycho. The kid was out of control, right? And you could clearly see the dog just took the parenting role. And so, and what these bites were grab, these typical, like, if I'm in control of this house, I'm gonna grab excitement. Excitement can't happen. You're trying, you can't do it. I can do this fast and easy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an 80-pound dog. It was a huge dog. It could have killed the kid.
Yep.
But it was just doing what it needed to do in like a parental way, like if it was a puppy out of control.
Yep.
And that's a very common thing as well that you're going to see. So you get these extremes. And then you get these things that are easy to miss. Oh, my dog keeps coming up to my kid. Yeah. Excited and forward every time he cries.
How is he coming up? I understand he's coming up, but how is he coming up? That's what we have to say in the energy. And then when you talk about energy, these people in the dog world, yeah, that's all that like kumbaya, mumbo jumbo. You just got to create positive reinforcement. Everything will be fine. Okay, good luck with that shit. And then they come come to your house. We need help. They told us to do this. And what do? These people are creating enormous amounts of excitement to create physical positions. Okay, so we've created excitement of the dog coming in. The dog's moving in with excitement. Is the dog moving in with calmness? Can I say one more thing? Go ahead.
Do you guys ever use food when it comes to introducing it with dogs and kids? Do you ever bring, just to the point you just said, do you bring food into any training processes with dogs and children?
Well, other than the exercises that I did, like creating a boundary, but not with the
I will at times. I will at times, and it depends. First of all, it depends on the dog. Number one, like what is that dog react? What is that dog's reaction to food? And if it is, it's like let's put it this way: with my dogs, I would. You know what I mean? So what I actually did with food with them was when the baby would start getting hysterical and stuff, and they were just like, what do? I would start just doing some obedience, like play stuff with that. Yeah, place, good job, guys. Food, and reward the state of mind, and kind of, it's like, I guess, redirection to it.
Yeah, it's a redirection.
Yeah. So redirection, and the food was used for the positive reinforcement part of that. But would I just bring food to it? No, I don't think so.
Now, so because I've used this many times where in the toddler phase of the kid getting to the feet, if the dog accepts the child but doesn't know what to do with the walking, I'll have the kid have a piece of food when he waddles up.
For the sense, right?
Well, it takes away the uncertainty from the dog's understanding of the movement.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it brings the nose in from the eyes, and then it also to me it reinforces the approach.
So, it switches the dog back to natural state of like, I'm curious. Wait. So you're moving, but wait, what is that thing? 60% of my brain is telling me, what the hell is that? I'm more curiosity, inquiring. That's a really good point.
Curiosity is a big one right there.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? Then it's how do they do it? Are they moving too fast to the baby? Blah, blah, blah. Like all that stuff matters too, obviously.
Well, and let's go back to this. And this is something that needs to be touched on. And I'd like to know how you guys, Steve, you'll be doing it with the kid. I think that's what we need to name him now.
No, this kid.
So how do you teach your kids to interact with the dogs properly? Now, here's an advantage you guys may or may not know you have. Your daughter, or my daughter, is me. So behavior modeling, like we talked about earlier, that shit's so real. Like if you walk into a house and there's 2 kids and 2 parents, you ever notice, let's say there's a 7 and a 9-year-old. One of them's acting like the mom, one of them's acting like the dad, right? Almost to a T. Yeah. And you can even hear the way the parent will be like, no, sit, Stanley. You know, they'll say the phrasing exactly.
Yep.
So, my daughter naturally.
I don't want to. No. I'm mimicking it right back. You know what I mean?
Mimicking it.
Yeah.
My daughter was very respectful to dogs because she understood the whole deal. But I mean, early on, I would gently take her hand and I would be like, this is how we touch a dog, right?
I learned that from you, Todd, by the way, and we did do that as well. I learned that from you.
Okay.
Which is a really good one, a good technique.
Yeah, that's a really good one too.
No touching, no hitting, no harassing. So I had to set rules. No hitting, no harassing. I think I forget, there might have been another one, and I would do that because if you let the child figure it out, it's never going to be proper. right? So it's like you have to, the imprint, we're back to the imprint. You go like this.
But also the dog sees that it's coming from you.
Yes.
And you are one with the baby.
That
is another
parenting dog. This is why the parenting dog gets shaped, is that the dog doesn't feel like the parents are parenting the kid's behavior towards the dog. So even a good dog at some point, it's like, look, fuckers, can you please like police this little thing so I don't have to? Do you see that it's climbing on me and I don't want it here? Do you see that it's pulling this toy out of my mouth and I kind of don't want it to do that? And I'm being patient and I'm giving you a lot of time. And at some point it goes away. So Art, that's a perfect explanation. Yeah. The dog is like, thank you for participating in this family lesson of teaching. And I think little things like that go way undervalued in this whole process of introducing and teaching.
I think it's a big point too, that people, like a lot of the humans are looking at this from an emotional, like human approach, where the dog's looking at this from a nature instinct approach, right? So like the dog is saying like, this arousal, this thing of this young animal is not healthy for nature. My instincts are telling me this is not good. This is what should I do about it? Someone should be helping that thing or doing something about it. Their instincts are telling me that. And the human's saying, oh, it's okay. And the dog's like, all right, so you don't know what to do in this instinctual world? I will do it for you, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. We have to try somehow look, I wrote something here. It's like, I tell all my clients, I'm like, if you want to just simplify dogs, like dogs are associations. That's it. It's like, like break it down to just there. What does the dog think about this coffee cup, this thing, the food, the baby? Like, what do they associate with that? And then being able to teach people how to create the proper association and getting them to see that it's all about that imprint, that first thing that you do with them, followed by the repetitions of that. And that's the way they're going to, just like a child is that whatever you say to a kid or say to the dog, it's like, say whatever the hell you want. They're going to model what you do. You know what I mean? So instead of like, yeah, well, it's fine. Talking to the dog doesn't understand what the hell you're talking about. Telling the kid, hey, don't yell, don't scream. Meanwhile, 5 minutes later, hey, to your wife, shut up. And it's like, like, okay, I'm modeling exactly what you are. So that's what people really understand is, and look at this, it comes all the way back to the beginning. How many people don't even know themselves? They're unaware of their own energy. Yeah. This is one of my favorite things to do with my clients is I did this on a video call the other day, right? I said to the girl, she was saying something about a client that was frustrating her, not listening to like doing the stuff. And I said, and how does that make you feel? Right? For about 45 minutes, she went on about what was happening, and I kept going, and how did it make you feel exactly? And then finally she gets to, I don't even really know. So I said to her, so if you don't know how you feel, just so you know, the dog knows how you feel. That person you're talking to, your client, knows how you feel. You're frustrated, you're annoyed with them, Are they going to open up to that energy? So you have to understand your own energy first. This is the biggest thing that comes that we talk, the TCW is like, how much do we talk about your own freaking energy? Learning yourself. Caesar, how do you feel? I'll never forget the first time he asked you, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm in my New York shit. Like, I'm good, bro. You know, he's like, and he goes, and what's that exactly? I'm like, I'm fine. He's like, oh, okay. And what's that?
Exactly? Fine is not an emotion.
And it started triggering what in me? Like fucking anger. I'm like, is this like, what is this guy trying to challenge me right now? Is this guy want to get cracked in the face or what? Like, it's like, so I had anger and I didn't even realize. So do you realize you have anger? Nothing. I wasn't able to even process what I was doing. So that's what I love to ask these people. And it starts getting them to say like, maybe I should start like actually like paying attention to myself and seeing what's going on or how do I feel this moment? Because if you know how you feel, then you can see, oh my God, I'm starting to feel this anger thing. I see it. I'm starting to feel insecure. I can see it. And to me, the act of seeing that is becoming aware. People think it's a big, complicated fucking thing to understand like what your energy is. It's like you have the ability to see it. And that's the point of meditations. Right. We always talk about see your thoughts that lead to emotions, right? So if I can see my thoughts, I'm not good enough, which creates insecurity, which creates I'm not limiting belief, like not good enough. Okay.
Hey, Steve. Are you able to see that I have a little dog, an American Bulldog and a German Shepherd, and I live in a log house? And then you got an American Bulldog and a German Shepherd.
Yeah, I'm modeling your behavior. I'm modeling your behavior. That's it. No, but it's you know what I'm saying? It's really that's
yeah. Going back. Why do you think that is though? Why do you think people are so unaware of their own selves? Why do you think people have such a hard time with being able to be introspective enough? Like Jordan Peterson says, if you go and sit in a room by yourself and really, really, really want to know what you need to do to make your life better, the answers will come to you. But you have to want to go sit down and really, really want to know the answers.
Right.
I think people don't want to know the answers.
That, I think it's fear of the unknown, of like, who actually am I? And I think it's also the level of distraction in the human world, the money powered world. Let's keep you chasing money, like working your ass off nonstop. You want to get famous, in any form, which is famous, like significance, right? Like, how can I become significant? Focused on that, like all these type of things. It's just fame. Am I gonna get power? I gotta control it. It just keeps people completely external. And then these phones and shit is like another thing. Instead, like, think about, I actually said this to my wife yesterday. I said, we realized when I was like, 17, 16 years old, we would have a party. I go, it's fascinating to think about now. We would go to a party and nobody had a phone. And it was like, we were all there present at the party doing shit. We had to figure out ways to communicate, have fun, da-da-da-da. I have gatherings here. We have the family, friends, a Memorial Day party, whatever, fuck it. This is like the parties are like, damn.
Have you guys ever had to accept a collect call? Where I had to like get on a payphone and I had to get my dad to accept a collect call to say that, like,
from Todd Langston. Yeah, a collect call from Todd
Langston. Or payphones, right?
By the way, like, that's a whole topic. Like, we can go down this rabbit hole because that's kind of like what I've been like researching here recently, which we can talk about later. But I do want to talk about something about the dogs and babies. I want to get back to that. Have you guys ever had to tell someone to rehome the dog?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Me too.
100%.
Dude, I almost had to call an agency. I left the house so disturbed one time because the husband and wife were in disarray, and the dog wanted to bite the kid really bad. Like, it was 100% going to happen. And the dog was more the guys, and like, as a power play, it wasn't going to do anything about the dog. And I walked out into the driveway and I told the wife, I'm like, so I'm contemplating having to call the Health and Human Services on you because your husband's so detached from reality that he'd rather keep the dog and get you than deal with the bite that's going to happen to your son. So that one was the worst. But yeah, obviously you have to,
Yeah, I had a client one time that I went over there, and you just get a really uneasy feeling. The dog is very uncomfortable with the baby, and I'm like, look, this is what I always do with people. Is like, I give them options. Like, okay, here's the options that we have, right? We know your dog can be okay if it doesn't have any babies and is a one single dog. Like, do you have any family members that want to take the dog? And one client, she's like, actually, my dad really likes the dog. Yeah. Well, there you go.
That's a great solution, like a family
let's give
member.
It your
you
dog.
Still have connection with the dog, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I also have, like I said, look, here's the options. Like, you can rehome, you can make this work, but just know that you have to watch every little detail. If you miss once, there's going to be a bite. I'm just honest with it. I go, the other option, if you can't find a home,
where do they get bit? It's almost always like the dog's on the couch, the kid pulls themselves up, and it's not that the bites happen on the arms or the legs.
Yeah.
15-month-old kids get bit in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the face.
Yep. It's real bad.
But I also have, not that I'm just about giving options to people, right? And I say, look, if you can't make this work here in the house, if you can't find them another home, then the other option is actually to euthanize a dog, right?
Yeah.
And there's even times where I'm like, this dog in another home probably is not going to work.
Right.
I go, I'm not going to make that call for you. You have some really tough decisions to make. Like, you have to, this is the thing. I can't make the decisions for them. I make them responsible for the decisions they're going to make. I'm I'm giving you options. Here's the decisions you need to make. I actually had another family that the dog
before you say that, I wanted to say, like, that's something I think that many of the dog professionals aren't willing to do, is have that real, like, honest conversation with the people. Because they're like, I don't want to, like, trigger them to be mad at me or give me a bad review and da-da-da-da. So I'm just going to say, it's fine.
They insist what to do. This is your choice.
They tell them what to do, which causes the person to just get defensive. I'm not doing that shit. Yeah. Don't tell me what to do type of vibe. Yeah. So I think that's a really important one about, like, look, what would be the easier way? Like, good luck kind of thing, right? Just like, let me go on to my next session and get good reviews and blah, blah, blah. But it's like and people, I think, in the dog world are afraid to do that stuff with people, but instinctually humans understand honesty and can feel that you're coming from a place of you actually care and are giving them the real shit that nobody else is going to give them. It's a huge thing that I've noticed in, like, and it's something that transformed my career to a degree. Like, in the beginning, I'll tell you, in the beginning of my career, some of these trainers, they come and they fucking come after you. The positive people, right, force free, are positively punishing the fuck out of me in comments and not even aware that they're doing it, right, to influence my behavior. Oh, so you use positive punishment to do it to humans, but you would never do it to a dog. And it caused me to be like, I don't want to do certain things with these people, and and I was not getting the proper results in the beginning because I'm like afraid. And this is what I think I'm helping. Like we can help like people who are just coming up or starting. Is like how many people tell me I'm afraid to post? I'm afraid to talk about this stuff. I'm afraid to tell my client that stuff because what if they like go after me or they or people are gonna all say this shit? I'm like, you know what? Those are people who are in a unaware, toxic state, and we can't let them influence because at the end of the day, if Art doesn't tell that client the real deal, like that child could die. That's the real ending of the stories, right? So it's like if we're not telling them the honest truth, if we have to be honest with these people, regardless of how they feel, because if you love the person, you're going to do what is best for that person, not what's best for you and just my career. I'll just go somewhere else and do it. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I think that's a really
makes total sense.
I think it's a really big part of it.
All right, so we are at time.
Already?
This is a really good episode. Like,
let me say one more thing. Then I have one more thing. I have one more point I want to make.
Go for it.
The point you were saying about like, so people will tell me about you said about rehoming the dog, right? Like, well, can we rehome the dog? What is the line that a lot of people say? They'll say, but I don't want to give up on my dog.
That's a whole podcast, man. I don't want like our cultural conditioning of what that means.
So go ahead.
I'm not giving up on your dog. I'm saving your kid.
Right. And I actually, I go like this to them. I'll say, I understand that. I understand your intention, where your heart's at the whole thing. However, you potentially not rehoming this dog is giving up on the dog.
Yeah.
You're not giving that dog the opportunity to live a full life. You're putting it in a position that's dangerous for the dog and the child. And then if this dog bites the child, it's likely now going to have to go to death. So there's that giving up on the dog. You know what I'm saying? So, and look, you have people have to be honest with themselves. I made mistakes. I screwed this thing up, and like it is what it is. I'm gonna not beat myself up. I didn't know because they're not wrong, right? They're not wrong. They didn't know, so they can't.
That's an important distinction. People do beat themselves up, and nobody does anything wrong knowingly. Typically, you know what I'm saying? That's not the reaction. People
it's the point of it is to make people aware. So I always tell people like I'm giving you some hard shit right now, like of like really what you need to hear, but it's not because I'm making you wrong. You didn't know, but you need to be aware of this so you don't recreate it or do it again. Type thing. And last thing, all I just want to say is that something about like the people who are going back to the vet behaviorists, the degrees and all this shit who are prescribing and giving all this stuff. Something I thought about with all that is if you think about those people, they go to school, right? And to get that degree and to get that certification, they have to follow without question what the people before them believe is dog behavior, what you do, what it is. So there's no ability to question anything. And in my opinion, the difference between those people and us and Caesar and all that is we question everything.
Even ourselves.
Myself, I question Caesar.
Constantly.
I question, even when we have these discussions at TCW, we'll disagree with each other. Let me question you on that. Like, why is this? But we've come so far that none of us get triggered. Like, oh, what are you trying to say about me personally? No. It's not about me or Todd or Caesar or whoever. It's about what is the truth in this.
Well, because we have done it. It's not that we're speaking somebody else's words, which could make you uncomfortable when you get challenged because you deep down technically don't know.
That's right.
I'm giving advice based on things I've done, I've seen, I've experienced, I've seen work. I know the nuance, the caveat, and like I can take you through the steps. So I believe in that. Now, are there other ways? Of course there's other ways, but these are my ways that I've seen effective. And I've also
seen
your own
eyes. You've seen it.
My own eyes, I can reproduce it over and over again. And the second that something doesn't work, I'm open enough to say, what did I do first? That's the first question I ask. What did I do here? And that's what's missing, back to the point of the self-introspection part of it, is people don't go to themselves first when it's not working out for whatever reason, babies, but that's the whole lesson we've been brought back to, that these other training worlds stay detached from that. Yeah. And they don't bring themselves into the mix. So they'll, we talked about this last week, Steve, or a couple of weeks ago, the fear-free training approach. I said, no trainer came up with that shit. No. I go, no trainer sat around and said, this is the best way to do it. I firmly believe it's being pushed by the pharmaceutical companies
100%.
Because it's the education source in vet schools. And so that means that it's being put together and pieced together by a bigger conglomerate that's saying, hey, there's a reason we want you to push this, that there's underlying reasons. And so you just, like you said, they won't question it.
Yeah, because if you question it, guess what? You don't get that doctor.
And by the way, I really think that a lot of times they'll kind of test everything in the dog world before they start moving into the human stuff. So what I mean by that is they want to see like, how far will we, I don't know, over-vaccinate our dogs, or how far do we have to over-vaccinate the humans? Like, I really believe that they kind of start with the dog world. That's a whole other conspiracy theory. I
actually think it's kind of, if you were to sit around in a meeting, I would almost guarantee, it sounds conspiratorial, but humans are having less kids. Like infinitely less kids, like dangerously less kids, right? But what are we having more of? Dogs. So we're replacing kids with dogs. So if I'm going to medicate, I still got to medicate shit. If I can't medicate your kid, what can I medicate? I'm going to medicate your pet.
Fascinating.
And that to me is fundamentally what you're actually looking at. The medical community is fucked up, man. The psychiatric community.
Putting my tinfoil hat back on.
Well, it's not that it's even that. It's that it really truly is like the psychological association is politicized. So what it means is that you're not necessarily getting information. You're getting somebody's
agenda.
And that's where we're back to, question everything. So yeah, we could go on forever.
Last thing with all this is what the difference is, in my opinion, between what we're doing with dogs and people and what those people are doing with dogs and people, meaning the vet behaviorists, force-free, those type of people, is what they do is they come with, this is my method, this is my strategy that I use on all dogs and people. What we do is like, who is the dog? Who is the person? Let me understand this whole entire situation and then come up with the method or strategy of how we're going to do it based on dog psychology, obviously, and nature. So to me, it's totally reversed. And what do they say? This dog's not responding to this method. More medication. This dog's not responding. You need better food. It's like, what do you mean you need better food? I'm giving the dog filet mignon. He doesn't care. So what do I do? Something wrong with the dog, or something wrong with how you're doing it. Or is it something wrong with that method in that moment for that dog? But if you learned it that way, this is the only way, and anyone else who does it different is wrong, you're closed-minded, you have no ability to even be creative. Because what does Caesar always talk about? How the creativity that we have to be able to do to help dogs and help people. Because every dog, every human, the combination, the environment is going to be a completely different thing. There's going to be some
clarity. By the way, greatest compliment I ever got from Caesar.
What?
My creativity.
It's amazing.
And that's what he complimented. I went, oh, fuck. All right. Oh, thanks.
You know what I mean? And it's just, and I would say also to the people who, the last thing I'll leave with, the people who want to judge Caesar. But I sent you guys the post about that woman who starts ripping on Caesar for pack walking a fucking dog. It's like, what planet are you living on? You know what I mean? You could just see the anger fuming out of her face, like the jealousy, envy, insecurity, all that stuff. Unaware of it. But for all those people, it's like when they say things about Caesar, I say, and have you ever like seen him work in person? Have you ever like gone and inquired about that? And they're like, no. So how the fuck do you know anything? You're basing it on a TV show that's a highlight reel? That's what you're basing it on? And shit from years and years ago? Like, why don't you come see the real thing if you want to judge it? And maybe not judge it. Maybe assess and evaluate it. Because I'm happy to listen to all these guys and Zach, Joe, these people who are just like, yeah, treats, da-da-da. I'm like, actually, I can see that one thing you did makes sense in positive reinforcement. Yeah. I like that one thing. That's actually interesting. Maybe I'll use that thing. But the other shit you're saying is a bunch of BS, dude. I'm just letting you know. And you know what I mean? You're following some agenda to make the public believe that you're some positive, amazing experience, but you're not getting results. That's the real truth. And how do I know? How do you guys know? Because our doors are being pounded down by these people who say, I spent thousands of dollars on training with the vet behaviorist and the positive, and I'm left with a dog with zero freaking results, or even worse. And we have to stop that shit from happening in the public, because it's like, I see people commenting on my stuff. It's like, I spent thousands. I can't even afford your stuff.
We can't stop it. That's like you say, you can't stop it. I mean, it's understand it. We know it's out there.
Make people, but maybe it's making people more aware of it. You know what I mean?
The reason I tend to have something to say about this whole medicated fear-free thing is it's one thing to be ineffective. You know, the owners will find out that this isn't ineffective. To me, I draw the line on wanting to speak up when not only is it ineffective, to me, it's harmful. It's starting to cross into doing the exact opposite. Ineffective is fine, but
right.
Like effectively fucking up your dog's not okay to me. Like, and doing it consciously. Like, if you go in a conversation, you start prescribing meds, it's like, dude, stop it.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, by the way, I real quick story. Do you guys know Eileen from Arizona, baby pack leader?
Not sure.
So she has a program where she's a mother, and so she worked with Lynn, and she also was on the TV show on Caesar 911. And so Eileen has a really good program that is for mothers or families that are expecting. And she has a whole program from the time the baby's, when you find out you're pregnant to the time, introduction, like all the things. She has a really good online program. It's a shameless plug just because, I really like Eileen.
Smart.
But she also had a client that was working with her, and I think their vet, I don't know the whole story, but it had something to do with the vet was against Caesar, like against just the way he does things, right?
Yeah.
And so she, she's a non-confrontational person, but I don't know if she was there with them or what the whole story was. But she asked him, she's like, have you ever met Caesar before? And the vet's like, no. She's like, well, I've met Caesar. I was on the show. He helped me out tremendously with my dog, and he, really helped me out. And also Lynn helped her out too. She mentored under Lynn. And basically she left the vet, kind of upset, but was defending the experience that she had. He ended up writing a letter to her and apologizing to her.
Really?
Yeah.
The vet.
The vet did.
Well done. Eileen.
Yeah. But so she stood up for, but I also want to throw her name out there because she has a really good online program that, I mean, obviously we do the same thing, but she has it's a dedicated for families that are expecting. It's called Baby Pack Leader, babypackleader.com. It's a really good program.
Last thing, when people go after Caesar and stuff, what I just do is instead of doing, like you said, never defend me, like you guys need to defend me and everything, right? Instead of defending, it's like, so when they say Caesar this, Caesar that, blah, 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 I just ask them, because I start asking questions. So you make them explain, and then they start realizing they don't know shit about what Caesar does and understand anything. And then, so I'm just like, so what about it don't you like? Oh, because he does this, this, and that. I'm like, nah, he doesn't actually do that, though. So what else? What else do you think he does? Well, he believes that what you have to do is take a dog and throw it on its side and and be a dictator and It's like, so I understand that's what I have empathy for them. That's what they actually believe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I understand that's what you believe. I'm just selling you from being around him for 10 plus years, watching it all these workshops and stuff. That's completely not what it actually is at all. So I would suggest you actually maybe just inquire and just be open-minded and learn. Because let me ask you guys, if you all of a sudden, if I said to you guys, I just saw this positive only trainer, the person only used food and positive reinforcement, they never told the dog no, never gave direction in any way like that. And they took this red zone pity and got that dog rehabilitated and now lives with children and shit. Would you potentially inquire and look at that shit?
I would be all in, dude.
I would call that person.
My curiosity would be at a 20. What?
I'll pay you $100,000. I'll come while I learn this shit.
Oh yeah, it would be invaluable.
You know what I'm saying? So they're just like, I don't want to even hear it. So I'm like, that's fine. Don't want to hear it. Be closed-minded. We'll be open-minded. If you have any good stuff, I'm open to hear it. I have the ability to not just say, Caesar bad, I can't listen to anything. You know what I mean? Right. Or this positive trainer bad, he's an idiot, I don't want to listen. It's like, yeah, I disagree with that point. But this I agree with. This I don't agree with. And that's what it is. Because people always say, what camp, what team are you on? I'm like, I'm not on any teams. I'm not on any group of this and that. I'm a human being who has a ton of experience with dogs, like you guys. We have experience with dogs. We have tons of experience with people. This is what we've done to create these results. We're open-minded to continue to learn. We're perpetual students, by the way. And that helps us be great teachers and leaders for all these people.
Cool. Well, Steve.
That's where we'll end it.
Yeah. Let's end it right there. All right, Steve, thank you so much for being on the Dog Psychology
Podcast.
Man.
I appreciate it. I love this talk. This is we got to do this again because I really love
this is all we do when we're at TCW.
I know.
And by the way, I'm actually surprised that I was actually able to get some words in because usually when I'm around you guys, I just kind of sit in the back of the car and don't say a word because you guys are always
psychopaths and shit.
Steve raises it up, Todd gets louder, and Steve gets louder. I'm just in the back.
God forbid we bring Yola into it. You know?
I know. If you say something like that.
Let's do it. Can we do one? Obviously, yeah. Can we do one? We should do one with the four of them. I would love that. Because we have so many of those talks TCW. We always say we should record this shit, but we're in some hotel room and we're like, where are we going to put the camera?
Dude, we can do it. We'll do it in when we go to Florida. We'll get an episode, all four of us. Maybe with JoJo Florida? And everybody.
When's Florida next? Is there one booked for Florida?
Yeah, we're doing it the 24th.
Oh, why don't we promote TCW? So TCW coming up in April.
April 24th through the 29th, I think, is Fundamental 1.
In California.
And then May 3rd through May 7th is Fundamentals 2 in LA.
Yep.
So you go to trainingscaesarsway.com.
Trainingscaesarsway.com, fill it out. If you guys have any questions, whoever's watching.
Are you going, Steve?
I'm not going to make this one. I got to like deal with this kid, and this business is like going nuts right now. Yeah, so for us, like you guys probably don't have it as much, but for like once it becomes spring and shit, like everyone's like, I need to train my dog, because like winter they just keep him inside. It's like It's snowing, nobody's really doing anything. Like especially after the holidays, it's like January, February, March. Like we'll deal with it in like April or May, and it gets nuts. But yeah, I'm just gonna stay for this one, and then next one I'm pretty much gonna be there.
Cool.
I don't know if Cassie knows that yet, but now she does.
She was probably hoping you'd be gone for 2 weeks.
I know. She's probably like, you're not going, actually? Damn.
Come on. All right, guys.
Thank you,
awesome.
guys. Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you guys later.